Call a meeting to order for the Wilmer City Council, Tuesday, February 16th. Roll call.
Mayor Calvin.
Here.
Councilmember Christensen.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Amman. Nelson.
Here.
Meske.
Here.
Plowman. Johnson. Fagerly.
Here.
6 present, 3 absent.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any proposed additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing and hearing none, we'll go to the consent items.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the consent items. On the approved list is the City Council minutes of February 1st, Wilmer Municipal Utilities Board minutes of February 8th, application for exempt permit for Wilmerfest, application for exempt permit Wilmer Sertoma Club, application for exempt permit West Central Ducks Unlimited, accounts payable report through February 11th, 2016, building inspection report for January 2016. Applications for appointments, Jill Benson to the Human Rights Commission, Rebecca Trongard, Planning Commission, Tom Butterfield, Zoning Appeals Board, Julie Osmus, Planning Commission, Crystal Gallagher, Human Rights Commission, and Richard Engen, Human Rights Commission. There's been a motion, has been seconded, motion has been made and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. The motion carries 4-1. Next, we have a hearing on the ordinance of sale of city-owned property to Dooley Brothers. Mr. Peterson.
Mayor Calvin, members of the council, tonight we have the last step in the process to sell property in the industrial park to Dooley Brothers LLP, it's a limited partnership. They have agreed to purchase 3 lots in the industrial park at full market value, subject to the application of the city's land write-down policy. The amount of the write-down is still being determined, where staff is working with Dooley Brothers to reach consensus on the number of new employees that will be transferring to the Wilmer location or hired to staff the Wilmer location. As I said, this is the final step in the process. The Planning Commission has previously reviewed the proposal and has recommended to the council that the sale occur. It's a recommendation of staff that the council adopt the ordinance authorizing the sale of real property to Dooley Brothers LLP. And then included with that motion would be to direct staff and city attorney to bring about the closing on the real estate.
Okay. Public, is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak to this issue? Seeing and hearing none, we'll bring it to the council table. Council, your wishes.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move to approve staff's recommendation.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve this ordinance for the sale of city-owned property to Dooley Brothers LLP. Discussion. Seeing and hearing none, roll call.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Meske.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
And the motion does pass. So the motion is to adopt the ordinance, assign it a number, and publish it, and then to proceed with the sale of the property. Next, we have Wilmer City Council open forum. We have Ross Magnuson here, and my understanding is Ross and Mr. Bruce DeBleek are here to talk about Vision 2040.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Ross Magnuson. I'm joined by Bruce DeBleek tonight. We both serve on the Vision 2040 Steering Committee, and we're here tonight to follow up when Terry Tone was here to speak about Vision 2040. When Terry was here, he promised we'd be back once the Vision 2040 progress report was completed, and we're proud to say that it is now completed, and Bruce is giving you copies now. In addition, you're also receiving a 4-panel brochure that gives you an overview of Vision 2040. And finally, included in your packet is your invitation to join us at the Celebration and Conversation event on Monday, February 29th from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. at the Wilmer Conference Center. We hope to have all of you joining us that evening to hear about our successes and to also hear where we want to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a presentation of the Park Development Plan. Mr. Brizendine.
Mayor Calvin, members of the council, I'm here tonight to further discuss the park development plan and specifically the resources in the 2016 CIP.
Mr. Brizendine, if I could also advise council that Darren Strand, the chair of the committee, along with Rachel, I'm going to kill your name, Rachel, Screvitt, is here to join Steve in his presentation. So when it's appropriate, they'll come up, but Steve will direct them when they will be coming to address the group. Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Thank you, Mayor Calvin. As stated, in the 2016, there's $706,000 available for park development dollars. And as we presented to the council last fall, we had identified Rice Park as a potential project for that resource to be utilized. In discussion with the council at that time, there was some opinions that maybe that might not be the best place to put those resources at that time. Since we had that discussion in the fall, some of the concerns that were voiced at that table were alleviated by the purchase of some playground equipment this past winter that will be installed in 2 stages in May and July, most likely this year. As you recall, we purchased 7 playground units that will go in 6 of our neighborhood parks. So I wanted to introduce to you that there is $706,000 in the CIP, and I would like to invite Darren Strand up to let you know what the Joint Powers Board of the Community Education and Recreation Department had from a discussion standpoint and what their thoughts are related to the investment in Rice Park.
Thank you. Darren?
Okay, let's see here. Everybody hear me? As has been said, my name is Darren Strand, and I'm the current chairman of the Joint Powers Board between the City of Willmar and the School District 347. The purpose of the Joint Powers Board is to provide advisory services to the City of Willmar and School District 347 regarding social, educational, vocational, and recreational services to members of the community. I took a part of our operating agreement, and one of the parts says that the board shall advise and assist in the development and maintenance of parks and recreational facilities, including acquisition of land for leisure. So I put that in there because it's pretty relevant to why we're here today. I'm here with Vice Chair Rachel Screvitt to discuss the Joint Powers Board's recommendations for the funds that have been allocated to the parks budget for 2016. For the last 2 years, we have been gathering community feedback through surveys, community forums regarding our current and proposed park system. In February 2015, SRF Consulting presented our community with a park plan. Based on the study, there are several areas in need of our park system. With all of these needs, it's challenging to determine where to start. During several board meetings and subcommittee meetings, we discussed several of these options. The first option we discussed was to spread the approved allocated funds evenly across the park system. This would impact several parks in our community right away in year 1. However, the impact to each individual park would be minimal. The second option we discussed would be to identify 2 or 3 parks in our system and focus on their improvements. This would impact more parks, but again, the impact wouldn't be as great. And we felt that due to the costs of some of these improvements for the parks, our fear would be that these parks would look half completed. Therefore, at the end of the day, our recommendation is to focus a majority or all of the funds towards one project in 2016. By focusing on one park, we will be able to carry out larger portion of the proposed improvements to that park. In addition, these improvements will not go unseen. We anticipate that these highly visible park improvements will create a level of excitement for the new park, as well as keep people interested in what the future redevelopment of parks will look like. Overall, we feel that by focusing on one park, we will have both short-term and long-term impact. The short-term impact will occur at the obvious level of having a brand-new park, brand-new amenities, and some of these amenities that are currently not offered in our community. The long-term impact will come from the perception of a commitment to a park system and anticipation about what further redevelopment will look like. In going with the recommendation of the park plan, the Joint Powers Board would recommend to focus on Rice Park. Rice Park was selected primarily due to its location in the central part of our community. In addition to that, it is one of, if not the, most highly visited park in our community. There are very few sunny days that when you drive by Rice Park that someone isn't using it for its playground, sporting courts, or just finding a shady spot to enjoy a lunch break. The Joint Powers Board feels that with Rice Park's central location combined with major improvements, it is the most impactful option available. With that, I'd like to invite Rachel up, and she's going to go over some of the layout of the proposed improvements to Rice Park.
Thank you, Darren. Rachel?
Good evening. Thank you, Darren. As you see before us, we have a potential park plan layout. It's a working document. It's from our master park plan. It displays 2 areas of play equipment, open green space, half basketball courts, horseshoe pits, a walking path, and a splash pad that also has a connecting shelter, which includes bathrooms and changing rooms. Are you able to change the file? The next document, right here, this is a PDF file of images from the Rosemont, Minnesota Central Park splash pad. This is a great visual to see an open shelter with bathrooms and changing rooms right next to the splash pad. Large plaza area, wet and dry, with ample seating around it. And of course, the splash pad with a variety of great spray nozzles and ground nozzles for enjoyment. Again, a working document, but we think with these pictures, you can get a pretty good idea of what a potential one could see. Is there more images to go through? Oh, just the one. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
And so from there, we kind of ask ourselves, what is the next step? And what we're looking for is to kind of put the ball into the council's court and ask for everybody's feedback. Timing is of the essence a little bit. Ideally, we'd like to put these funds to use so they can be used in 2016, and in order for that to be the case, we would need to probably start that bid process and start the process with looking and exploring vendors and alternative vendors and stuff along those lines. So that's where we're at, and that's what we're looking for today, is to get some guidance from you guys.
Thank you.
The one thing I would add to Darren's comments as we look to what our next steps are, we have had conversations with SRF, who was the firm that brought forth the park plan in conjunction with the community last year, and they're very willing and interested in working with us to create the steps of finishing this system, at least for this year, related to the dollars available in this year's budget.
Steve, could you talk a little bit about the community meetings that you had when you were putting the park plan together? Just how many there were and about the attendance you had, if you remember? I didn't ask you this ahead of time. Sorry about that.
That's all right. We had 3 different types of visioning sessions. The first time SRF was out, we met with staff and some key stakeholders, and they got a feel for what the project was that we were asking them to do. They came back, and we sought current stakeholders in focus areas. We asked senior citizens, we had the Community Ed and Rec Board, we had businessmen, we had people from city staff, families, and other, I think there was sports associations as well, was another group that we had invited to the table. Went back and worked on the process, and they came back and had an open session to all people that was held at the fire hall. And at that session, they brought drawings of potential work that had been done related to some of the finished product that we ended up with. In all, we had 3 different sessions that they came out to Willmar for. Inside those sessions, there was probably 8 or 9 different groups that we met with. I would assume the total, we did not keep track, although we did take names, so I think throughout the whole process, I would guess that we had in the neighborhood of 300 participants in all those sessions.
Thank you. Council, what, go to the council table. Councilmember Anderson, followed by Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks to you and the presenters. I'm totally supportive of this. I'm questioning if it's going to cost $1.5 million to do the whole thing, and we've got 700,000, and I see the breakdown how that's proposed to be spent, but what are we not going to do with the other $800,000? Or
When you look at the drawing that's up in front of this, on the screen right now, the proposal that we would do is the splash pad, the plaza area, the shelter with changing room and restroom facilities, and the walking path. We would remove a number of amenities currently there, the old wading pool, the tennis courts, the basketball court. Some of the discussion that will have to take place yet on details is currently in that drawing, the horseshoe pits get moved. We're not so sure that that is necessary to move the horseshoe pits because they're perfectly fine and usable where they are currently. The playground equipment is 2007 era, so that playground equipment is fine. So I think if you look at what the dollar amounts are, in the budget that was presented, that's $1.5 million. The splash pad was in the neighborhood of $300,000, and we think we can save about $100,000 on that amount. In talking to two vendors, we think we can get a very nice splash pad for around $200,000. The shelter that is proposed is at $175,000. I think that might be on the high side, but that's still what we're planning in the ballpark of spending that. The playground equipment, I think, was somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000. We aren't planning to remove that equipment. So I think it's things like that are adding up. We do not plan on putting the basketball hoop at this time, and that comes from feedback of a number of different sources on whether or not that amenity is necessary at that park. We have not made final determinations on what we plan to do. We'll still do some focus groups and get the final product as we work with either SRF or other entities to get this plan through the works this summer.
so would it be safe to say that this is just the first step? I mean, you will continue to do some of the other things and as you have more meetings.
Absolutely. I think this is the first gasp at what would $706,000 get us, and I think we could do the majority of the work that's up on that picture right now. The next question would be, is it phase one, or is it something that you come back to that park at a later date? Because I think if we do invest $706,000 at this site, I think that's going to be a very nice park at that point. And do you move to the next park and start making that same large impact at the next park, or do you circle back to this park in a fairly quick fashion? That would be the questions that would be out there, and we'd ask the community's input on.
Thank you.
Councilmember Christensen, followed by Fagerly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Steve. One of the neighbors called me over there last night and asked about parking. Is there any plan for additional parking over there? He lives right across the street, and he also asked if the consultant had talked to any of the neighbors around there, or we just relied on the people that showed up or emailed in.
Fair question. Throughout the course of the public sessions, I do not know that any of the neighborhood people from Rice Park were there, but obviously there's a good chance that people from that neighborhood were at some of our sessions. Specifically going door to door and asking them, no, that did not take place. We believe there is ample parking when you think of the amenities that are going to be placed there and the amount of street parking on hand. I think that would accommodate what we're planning to put in this system. I also believe that we could look at where the basketball courts and horseshoe pits are. I've asked Engineer Christensen to look at the possibilities of putting diagonal parking across that south boundary, if that would help us with that. And SRF is aware of that as they start looking at this process. If indeed we hire them to assist us moving forward, that's something that they would look at as well.
And then is the splash pad, is it free, or is there a fee for it? And will we have adult supervision there?
Our intent is to use a flow-through system. At least that's our direction we're leaning at this point, which means there is not standing water and would not necessitate having staff on hand. We do believe that that would be a free amenity.
Okay. Since it's free, is it going to detract from or lessen the people that use the Dorothy Olson Aquatic Facility? I mean, if they're going to go here free instead of going out there and paying X amount of dollars, is that going to maybe reduce the revenue out there?
I think there's potential for that to take place, but I see them as being two completely different facilities. When we speak to peers, and there aren't a lot of peers that are from 20,000 population bases, but many of them have both aquatic centers, as we do with the Dorothy Olson Aquatic Center, as well as splash pads at neighborhood parks. But to say that there wouldn't be an impact at the attendance of that facility, I think that'd be a stretch. I'm sure there would be, but I would think it'd be minimized because they're two different recreational opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Steve, and the group for being here tonight. Where the tennis court is now, if you take the pavement up, isn't the base good enough? You could put a tennis court or a basketball court there?
Yes, that's indeed where it would be, Rick. Somewhat, I think it's a little bit off.
In the corner?
Yeah.
Okay, that's just grass now.
Geez.
It used to be.
It's a little bit north, the current tennis court is a little bit north of where this basketball hoop would be. But that'd be an option available to us, yes.
Okay. And then I've received a lot of calls too from neighbors, and they aren't real happy, but I can see improving, the play equipment and the shelter there. But we just spent a lot of money on a park plan, and we got 2 regional parks now, Robbins Island and Swanson Fields. Wouldn't it be nice to have that amenity of the splash park in one of them? Because people are concerned about parking there.
I think it's a fair question. If I were to look at Swanson Field, I would not look at that to be the place. As Mr. Christensen said, that's blocks from where the aquatic center is, and if you think in competition, I think that draws that attention more if you're putting them in close proximity. So I do not think that the splash pad would be necessarily a great fit at Swanson Field Complex. Robbins Island, I could see that, but you also have a body of water that we'd like people to enjoy that body of water as well. And as we work to make the improvements and work with soil and water conservation and the other folks that are working on water quality in this community, I think that helps us utilize that body of water in a different way as well. So I don't see a lot of splash pads being put in proximity to lakes like that. Doesn't mean it wouldn't happen.
Because I've heard from people where they've got, little kids that would use the splash park and then grade school and junior high, so they're driving them all over and they can't all participate at the same time, so.
Yeah, fair enough.
Additional comments? Councilmember Anderson? Christensen again?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Steve, talk a little bit about how you're going to use SRF. What role will they have? And then I have a follow-up.
They've obviously helped us create this plan. Now they would walk with staff through the vendors and bid processes to help us get conceptual drawings. So this is more of a conceptual. They will finite what that drawing would look like, and then they would help us with walking through bid processes and being general contractors, so to speak, on these jobs. In conversations with staff, we do not think we've got enough staff capacity to do the professional services that SRF would help us with.
Yeah, that's understandable. You may not have the expertise, not shortchanging anybody, but there's probably, and in that regard, with their expertise, are they going to be able to help us set up some sort of a system so we can accept money from the public? If people want to make donations, I know we had a little bit of a circular way of getting it for the dog park, and can they help, or are we going to be able to set up something so that we can accept donations?
I'll defer that to Mr. Halliday, as he's the one that's dealt with that issue more than the rest of us. My simple answer would be, I believe that process is in place, and there's been any number of donations for a number of our parks in the last number of years, as well as through school systems. So I believe that we've got processes. We just have to work with how that would work.
There was some sort of a problem with the dog park. I know that if a company wanted to contribute money, I think there was an issue as to where that money was going to go.
Mayor Calvin, Mr. Anderson, I think the issue was the donating to the dog park group versus donating directly to the city. I don't think there's an issue with donating directly to the city.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cruz, would you like to respond to that at all, on the donation piece?
I'd just like to say that, yes, donations can be made to the city, and they are tax deductible, and the city will facilitate that. I'm not sure what historically was done as far as the city receiving or soliciting funds for donations, but we definitely can make that available.
Okay. Councilmember Anderson, does that answer your question?
I have one more. They also talked about helping us get grants and money. Now, I know you've submitted an application recently but can they help us additionally? I mean, $50,000 would be nice, but it's a kind of a drop in the proverbial bucket. So would they be charged with helping to try to get that going?
In this case, it's about 8%, so that's not bad drop in the bucket. But yeah, you're right. When we had a conference call with SRF on Friday, we discussed some of those options available to us. The next round for regional designation is starting right now and is open, and applications are due in May, so we hope to get that completed again for the Robbins Island designation, which would potentially make legacy dollars available for that site. But in our conversations with them on Friday, we did talk about opportunities that they know of that potentially staff or others do not.
I guess I was referring to the $50,000 compared to a $22 million expenditure. 'Cause that,
Oh, okay, not that 706.
right.
Baby steps. Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You talked about a flow-through system there. What does that mean? Does that have to do with reusing the water, or?
Yeah, in this case, it would flow through, so you would not, it'd go down the drain versus going into a catch basin that would be reused for that same purpose.
Is there any sanitary concerns that need to be put in place there? Has that been thought about, or is there any?
We have discussed that, and it's pretty common practice. There are two different kinds, the flow-through system and the recaptured or recirculating systems. It seems like they're about 50-50. When you talk to the vendors, they sell about the equal amount of both types of systems. What we have found is the flow-through systems are cheaper up front and come with less maintenance in the long run. So that's the system that we've been looking at most closely, but we have not made any decisions on that, and we'll work closely with.
Can we safely assume then that, babies in diapers aren't going to be going in there?
Right.
Even though they can walk, they're not going to be. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Councilmember Nelson.
Two things. When we talk about the donations to the city, I know that's a concern for some people. So if there is a process in place, I think it might be good to document that and how people will get receipts, and so that they know that it is tax deductible and does follow what needs to be done, because I know that has been a concern in the past, and so if that's been taken care of, I hope that we could get a protocol out there for donations to be accepted. The other comment I'd like to make is I'm very supportive of doing Rice Park, that we do, and we make a statement to do that. I do have a concern about not following the plan, and I'm very pleased to hear that you're willing to work with SRF with this. But I do remember from having been part of that plan that the reason that the horseshoe courts were moved was to leave open space for concerts in the park and some of the other things. And so I'm concerned about how decisions are going to be made with let's not do this or let's do this. Because I think the important thing, and I think that was talked about at Community Ed and Rec also, was to do this in a manner that would be a plan that could be followed and would encourage the next park to be done the next year.
And there will be plenty of feedback. As I said, these are schematics and thoughts that staff have been working with vendors and other people on as we get ready for this process, and SRF is aware of the discussions that we've had, and if indeed that's who we decide to work with on this project, we'll let them guide us through this.
So your comments that were made before, you're still open to looking at completing it in its entirety, whether it's 1 year or 2 years, but staying with the plan or staying with their recommendations?
Again, the park plan as adopted a year ago is a roadmap to where you get, even though it's got detail in it. I don't know that the plan was to be detailed as you walk through the steps to get to what the finished product is. Does not mean that we are going to deviate from the plan. It means that we should put in place what the amenities that the community wants, and then what budgets will allow us to do as well, I think is where we're at with this. I don't think any decisions have been made, even though we've had discussions about the shelters that could be used and the splash pad types. No final decisions have been made, and yes, indeed, we'll work through the Community Ed and Rec Board and this body to make final decisions on what the finished products are.
So the intention would be to bring it back both to the Community Ed and Rec Advisory Board and to the council for, I'm assuming we're going to have to do some, because of the dollar amounts, we're going to have the proper place for the city to follow through.
Exactly. Both bodies.
Councilmember Anderson, followed by Meske.
You know, this is a big project, and I'm wondering with SRF if it might be helpful if you could give an update to probably Public Works Safety periodically, so that we can stay abreast of just the types of decisions you're talking about and that sort of thing. I think that would be very, very helpful as we move through this. We did something on a much larger scale, of course, with the wastewater treatment plant, but they presented to us very regularly. And they don't have to come out. I mean, you can fully explain to us, but I think it would be really helpful if we did that regularly.
That was our intent, to have our Community Ed and Rec Park Board work with them on a regular basis and then come to the Public Works Committee as we got information and needed decisions to be made.
Okay.
Councilmember Meske.
First, thank you for your work, the Joint Powers Board, and the members of the community that contributed. Thank you for your time. I would share some of the same concerns about communication and flow back through the council, but I'm a strong advocate for diverse and unique amenities for our citizens, and I think we're in that path. I mean, dog park, frisbee golf, these types of things, and I don't like to see duplication, and a splash park or splash pad is definitely in that vein of a unique amenity that's not duplicative, so I think that's a great thing, so I applaud your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Anderson, followed by Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion that we move forward with the Rice Park plan and using SRF Consulting up to the amount that we have allocated in the budget.
Second.
The resolution has been introduced and seconded. Councilmember Nelson.
I was just hoping that with the communication, I know that part of what we've talked about is working with having Public Works do some of this, removal and some of those things. So will we be working with the Public Works Department to connect these pieces as part of the planning, so that it'll be more than one department working on this, so that we end up with a good project manager kind of situation?
There will always be input from the Public Works staff, and whether that's the engineer director and/or his supervisors and working foremen, they'll always be a part of the conversation, and they know what their capabilities are related to how much work of this plan, as Scott has sat in on all of the conversations thus far, and they'll be able to do what they can do, but they also know what their limitations are. So yes, they'll be a part of the conversation.
Thank you.
Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see on here, SRF is going to be used for project engineering, management, and oversight. Is there going to be a general on this, or how is it going to be handled with bids going out, and will you try to secure local contractors for doing the work?
That's our initial conversation so far. We have not come to any conclusions yet, pending what your decision tonight was, and we will be on the phone with them tomorrow and start beginning conversations about them putting together a bid proposal for us and what all that entails.
But who will general the thing? I mean, are you...
That'll be a question, that's questions we'll have for them as they work through the process. Do they have that as an arm of their business or not? I don't know all those details.
And your office wouldn't be up to doing that?
Right.
Evidently. Okay.
We've had conversations with Mr. Christensen, and obviously we'll do our best. I know Mr. Peterson, the Community Development, has some folks that might be able to walk us through some aspects of this, but I think we're looking at trying to get as much professional services as the dollars will bring us.
Maybe our city administrator would like to comment on that. Mr. Cruz?
Mr. Mayor and Council, some of these items may be on the state bid, such as they do have packaged buildings, and maybe even the splash pad may be on the state bid, so then that wouldn't have to go through the formal bidding process. Obviously, if it's over 100,000, then there's some requirements that we have to follow. If the splash pad company is a design-build company and our architect is working to coordinate that, that's a process to get it done. I don't believe, but it hasn't been determined, that we would have a general that was over everything, but that's to be determined yet. For example, if the shelter is a packaged, canned product, obviously there's some things, the concrete and the foundations and different aspects of it would need some coordination, but today at staff, we talked about some of the logistics, so Public Works and all of our team is involved in guiding this project.
Okay. Councilmember Nelson, and let's try to come to a decision here.
My comment was going to be, in here, you talk about creating a template both for building design and signage, and I think that was something that I felt was really important. I know St. Cloud has an excellent, you go through their parks and you see the building, they're different buildings, but they're the same concept, and I would hope that this first step would come up with a template that we could use for our other parks, so that if someone's inspired to do a new shelter in another area or raise funds to do that we're already ready with some models. So I was pleased to see that you had that comment in here to work with SRF to do that. So thank you.
Mr. Cruz, I'd like you just to go through the resolution that we are approving here. And so in the handout that you handed us, I believe it starts at adopt a resolution authorizing.
It says adopt a resolution authorizing staff to proceed to implement the 2016 capital improvement plan for Rice Park in the amount of $706,000, with the understanding that staff will, 1, proceed to execute the plan, 2, negotiate and enter into agreement with SRF to provide consultation services, 3, seek the Joint Powers Community Education and Recreation Board guidance on major implementation decisions, and 4, staff will update the council throughout project implementation.
Okay. And what I heard council say is they'd like that to come through Public Works, Public Safety. Okay. Additional clarification on what we're voting on? Otherwise, Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, as I understand it, we're voting on a package of $706,000, basically. And nothing has been bid out. And from the way the resolution reads, you won't be bringing bids to us. We will not see what the shelter's going to cost or the splash pad. You just have estimates down here. Normally, we're used to estimates and bids coming to us and approving them that way. I see the shelter at $150,000, and I build homes for a living, and 150 grand for a shelter, that's a lot of money. I want to be sure that what we're getting is somebody isn't fleecing us, and I know SRF will help in that instance. But normally we get the estimates and the bids here, and we vote on them, and we see that it's the lowest bid or somewhere in the ballpark. To that point, I'm uncomfortable with it. I mean, I think the park needs to be done, but the way we're going about it, the money's going to you, Community Ed and Rec, and then you're going to get the bids and disperse it as you see fit, correct?
Mayor Calvin, I fully, Mr. Christensen, I fully believe that this is coming through your committee of Public Works. Majority of these things are going to have in excess of what staff's ability to just use the money for. So I fully anticipate most of this information coming to your committee well before any final decisions are made.
Okay, so I misunderstood the resolution then, because it,
Yeah,
I think it tells us we've got our parameters, we've got up to $706,000 to get this work done, but it's coming through your committee for
okay,
final
so you will get our approval on every estimate and bid?
I believe so.
Okay, it didn't say that in there, that's why I asked the question.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Nelson.
That's why I asked the question before also, because I know we have to come back to do this. So the wording does state sort of alludes to what Councilmember Christensen said. So I think just clarification that it will come back to us in the normal process, I think, with that. So do we need to change anything in there, or are we good?
I believe my understanding is that everything was going to come back through Public Works Safety and their committees when those benchmarks were met. So I'm not sure, Mr. Cruz, if that was your understanding, but I think that's the understanding of council at this point. I mean, do you understand what we're asking?
Yeah, the staff understands that we need to meet the state bidding requirements and get quotes and bids, and we will run those through the committee and bring it back to council. Regarding the SRF contract, I would think that if it's okay with council, we would negotiate that. Not sure exactly what the end product will be. Obviously, if a company does design build, they wrap a lot of those costs in their product. If it's on a state bid, it's a little different too than just bidding out for someone to put the components together. So it's, we kind of have to work with the plan, and we'll figure out shortly where that's at and bring it back to Public Works.
Okay, council, are you ready to vote? I just want to make a comment. I attended a lot of your meetings, and you guys did a great job. You heard from a lot of the public, and I know that all those meetings were well publicized, both through the paper, on the radio, and through other mediums. So thank you for the work that you did on this, and thank you to your board also, Darren and Rachel. I'm not going to kill your name again. And thank you for the work that you guys did. So appreciate that. Roll call.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Meske.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
The resolution passes. Good work. Next, Finance Committee report, February 8th. Councilmember Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did meet on February 8th. There were no public comments. Our first order of business was U.S. Bank Places to Play program. Staff presented to us the criteria for the U.S. Bank Places to Play program. Staff is looking for permission from the council to apply for a grant of $50,000 to match dollars available in the 2016 CIP for Rice Park. The two major facets of Rice Park project would be the shelter and splash pad. The advisory board has discussed this and is looking for council approval to apply for the grant with a deadline of February 18th for submission. The 2016 CIP has $706,000 available for parks. Following discussion, there was a motion made, seconded, and passed, and I'll move the recommendation to the committee to direct staff to write a grant for $50,000 to U.S. Bank for their Places to Play program.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The motion does carry. Councilmember Anderson.
The next item was the Dorothy Olson Aquatic Center pool heater. Staff informed the committee that there is $40,000 allocated in the 2016 CIP to install a pool heater at the Dorothy Olson Aquatic Center. Quotes were submitted by Plumbing and Heating of Wilmer, Bulletproof Mechanical Services, Inc., and Chapel Central, Inc. Staff recommendation is to award the low quote to Plumbing and Heating of Wilmer Incorporated in the amount of $34,901 for the 97% efficiency heater. This is coming to the committee at this point because of the $10,000 requirement from the council. So following discussion, there was a motion made, second, and passed, and I'll move the recommendation of the committee to approve the low quote to Plumbing and Heating of Wilmer Incorporated.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The motion does carry.
Next item.
Councilmember Anderson.
Thank you. Next item was a community donation for the fire department. Staff presented to us a donation which came in after the agenda was distributed. It's a requirement that the council accept all donations by resolution. The Northland Group has an Employee of the Month program, and that employee picks an organization or group they would like to donate to. The Northland Group employee has chosen to donate to the Wilmer Fire Department for firefighter safety. In conversations with Chief Hansen, he has indicated that they will purchase gloves with the donation. Staff's recommendation is to accept the $164,000 by resolution and send a letter of thanks to the Northland Group. Following discussion, there was a motion made, seconded, and passed, and I'll introduce a resolution to accept the $164 by resolution.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Meske.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
The resolution passes. Councilmember Anderson.
Our next item had to do with the city purchasing policy. Staff explained that City Administrator Cruz had given staff direction to review the city purchasing policy and purchasing levels. City finance officers have a statewide organization that periodically sends out emails to those that belong to the organization asking for samples of various policies. Staff has compiled a file of purchasing policies, personnel policies, and various other policy documents of that sort of thing. There's been some confusion at the city level that we have $5,000 as the capital improvement level and an informal requirement of items over $10,000 to be brought back to the council for review prior to their purchase. A $20,000 authority for the city administrator and the state statute limit of $25,000 to $100,000 may be by quotes. Anything over $100,000 must be by bids. Staff looked at the various policies from Arden Hills, Becker, Stewartville, Brooklyn Park, and they shared with the state organization and decided that Arden Hills best mirrored the state statute bidding requirement of anything up to $25,000 could be purchased. $25,000 to $100,000 required at least 2 quotes, and over $100,000 required sealed bids. Items in the draft policy would basically replace the $10,000, the $20,000 authority for the city administrator, and propose to set the limit at $25,000 prior to purchases and put that responsibility on the city administrator's office to inform the council of those items. It would also allow a level up to $5,000 for department directors. Also, one item in the draft policy, this says that anything that is pre-approved by the city council, be it vehicle replacement program, capital improvement program, or budgetary items that had been pre-approved, would basically give the authority to the city administrator to allow. Stating that in the past council retreat, he understood that the council would like less information in the council packets, such as vehicle purchases, which have already been brought through the CIP process to purchase. This will require the extra information on already pre-approved budget items. Limited unbudgeted items would address if there is an unbudgeted item, but yet still can be covered within the departmental budget. The council has set a departmental as the budgetary control level. This would allow the city administrator authority to approve items as long as they're within the departmental budget. The committee asked that we continue this on and review it, and they did have some recommended changes in that, and that will be coming back to the Finance Committee at a later date. And I'll just highlight those that, one, we changed the city administrator unlimited budget from $25,000 to $10,000. And kind of a clerical thing, the last paragraph, insert for capital purchases for all payments. Insert the second sentence under note, monthly reports for all approved unbudgeted expenditures shall be provided to the city council by the city administrator, and insert a designee after the city administrator. So we did make those suggestions that there be changes, and this will come back to the Finance Committee at our next finance meeting prior to coming to the City Council for any sort of action. So that was for information only. The final item.
Councilmember Anderson, on that A, recommendation changes, city administrator unbudgeted limit from $25,000 to $10,000, so we're reducing that?
We reduced it from what was recommended. It was recommended that it be 25. We reduced that to 10 on unbudgeted things. We reviewed a number of reports, being the 1231 quarterly investment activity, the 1231 10-year historical quarterly investment balances, 1231 cash investment portfolio, 1231 quarterly interest and dividends, 1231 10-year historical quarterly interest and dividends, 1231 quarterly Rice Trust, the 1231 outstanding indebtedness. And that was for information only. So unless there's questions, I'd move to file these minutes.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to file the minutes. Discussion. Councilmember Nelson.
And just a clarification on the minutes. I noticed that none of the attachments were in our packet this time. The things that were attached for committee meetings were not attached to these minutes. So I'm just curious, do we not need to do that? Where will we find, if somebody comes back and looks for the reports, where will they be, or where will the bids be? Is that not a requirement from the minutes, for the minutes?
City Administrator Cruz.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Nelson, as you recall, in our retreat, we talked about trying to reduce the size of the council packets. All of those reports were presented in the committee meeting, and so each one of you has that in your Dropbox and can be accessed there.
I understand that. I'm just concerned from a legal standpoint in the minutes. If we have bids and we've accepted a bid, but the bid isn't there, does that make a difference? Because now you have to go back to a different file, and will everyone have access to that versus the minutes become the legal record?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Nelson, when we have our audits, the auditors go back to that source document in the files and make sure that those documents match up with the minutes, the dollar amounts.
I think what I'm hearing being said here is that the documentation is in the packet when the packet goes out. At that point, this references it back to that. That's where the document is stored. And so when the audit happens, the audit goes back to that record, which takes it back to where it was presented.
I just want to make sure that from a legal standpoint, we are doing what we need to. I'm curious, I see our city attorney kind of questioning, so I'm curious if we're meeting the requirements for our minutes with it.
Mr. Mayor, members
Mr.
of the
Scott.
council, the statutes require you to keep official minutes, which basically just mean you have to document every action taken. It doesn't mean that you have to attach every official record to the minutes themselves. The bidding documents, the final ones, would be official records. They document an action the council has taken, so they have to be preserved. But they do not need to be physically attached to the minutes.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
There's been a motion made and seconded to file the minutes. Additional discussion, Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to piggyback a little on that, how about publicly, for the public, if they're looking for something, will they have access to them to go back to where that document is? They can read the council minutes, but if it is not there, how do they access it? Do they call City Hall and say, where's the bid sheet on that? Or will it be on the website? Or how would the public actually access that? Because there are some that do that.
I think that would be in the packet that's prepared for the individual committee, right?
Okay.
What would be?
And then one other question back on item 6. I see where we're going with this, or where you want to go, but 3 years ago, the council did pass a policy of $10,000, and I would be opposed to increasing it to $25,000, especially in the times we're living in the fiscal crisis that's going on nationally and in some states and counties and cities. I'm all for the taxpayer and letting them know where we're at financially constantly. I'm very conservative, and the public needs to know where we're spending these dollars. I would speak against this, and I know I'll have a chance to when it comes back to the committee, but I think we're going in the wrong direction. That was it.
Additional discussion? All those in favor of the motion to file the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The motion passes. Public Works Safety, Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did meet on Wednesday, February 10th at 4:45 in conference room number 1. I called the meeting to order at 4:45 and asked for public comments. There was one lady there to speak to us, Mary Lou Arney. She spoke to address if any resolutions had been made for the issue of safety for pedestrians not using the crosswalk when exiting the library and going across the street to the parking lot. She requested to try a solution for a short period of time to see if it would remedy the concerns. She was thinking we should paint a yellow section from the doors of the library across the street to the parking lot. However, we noticed there were 6 exits from the parking lot across the street, and our chief of police and our Public Works Director, Mr. Christensen, thought that would not be sufficient because they're going to be coming from any of the other 5 to cross the street, and it could be more dangerous than helping out. The committee questioned if there's any pedestrian accidents in the past, and adding additional handicap parking spaces would probably help. The concept offering flags to carry across as pedestrians cross them also was discussed. That was for information only. Item number 2, we had our police and fire update, which is also for information. Mr. Felt noted that the jail census on that day was 136. 75 inmates were from the Department of Corrections, 52 from Kaneohe County, and 6 from Swift County, 1 from Benton County, 1 from Big Stone County, and 1 from Stevens County. They must like us. The calls for service the previous 2 weeks totaled 767 and are six days ahead of last year at this same date. A majority of the calls are for traffic stops, public assist, and family service reporting. Snow removal, parking violations were discussed, as well as calls for unlocking car doors. The department does not unlock doors unless there's an immediate safety issue. Our fire marshal, Mr. Frank was not there for the meeting, so Mr. Felt filled in for him. On the fire department calls for service totaled 12 for those 2 weeks. 6 alarm activations, 2 car accidents, 2 carbon monoxide alarms, 1 natural gas leak, and 1 building fire with damage to the basement. For the year to date, the fire department calls were 42, and that's 5 calls down from last year. Again, that was for information only. Item number 4 is a resolution. It has to do with Country Club Drive lift station authorization to seek bids. Our staff brought for approval to us the plans and specs for Country Club Drive lift station and to allow advertisement for bids. Bidding documents have been completed by Bolton and Mink and are ready for disbursement. The tentative schedule is to open bids on March 10th. The council will award the contract on the 21st of March and authorize notice proceed on April 15th, with substantial completion hopefully by September 2nd. Total project cost is estimated at $472,000. We discussed staff completing the engineering for these projects in-house. With it noted, these are more of a specialty project requiring more resources and dedicated time. After some discussion, a motion was made, seconded, and passed for the following. And I will introduce the resolution to approve the plans and specifications for this Country Club Drive lift station and allow for advertisement of bids.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Meske.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution passes. Councilmember Christensen.
Item number 5, another lift station. The Westwood Court lift station. This is a resolution also. Once again, staff brought to us for approval the plans and specs for this lift station at Westwood Court and to allow advertising for bids. Bid documents have been completed by Bolton and Mink, same as the previous one we just passed. After some discussion, a motion was made, seconded for the following resolution. I will introduce a resolution to approve the plans and specifications for this Westwood Court lift station and to allow for advertisement of bids.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. You want to mention the amount?
The amount is $851,000.
Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Meske.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution passes. Councilmember Christensen.
Item number 6 is also a resolution. Has to do with the State of Minnesota Airport Maintenance and Operation Grant Contract. Once again, our staff brought to us for approval a resolution to authorize the execution of the Minnesota Department of Transportation Airport Maintenance and Operations Grant Contract, period. Every year, the city submits eligible airport maintenance costs to the state for a reimbursement, and the new contract has been updated from past years for up to 75% of eligible expenses. For reimbursement, with the cap raised to not exceed $54,863 each year. More items are now eligible, and reporting is now mandatory quarterly instead of annually. Previously, it was up to 67% of eligible expenses, but it's been bumped up to 75%. After discussion, a motion was made, seconded for the following, and I will introduce the resolution to approve the execution of this resolution to authorize the Minnesota Department of Transportation Airport Maintenance and Operations Grant contract, period.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Meske.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution passes. Councilmember Christensen.
Another resolution, item number 7, request to purchase a Bobcat Tool Cat. Staff brought to us again for approval a purchase of a 2016 Bobcat Tool Cat from Farm Right Equipment in Wilmer in the amount of $46,551.10. And it is in accordance with our capital outlay program. This unit will be purchased through the municipal pricing and is a multitask vehicle to be used for snow removal as well as various tasks throughout streets, parks, and ball diamond maintenance. A motion was made, seconded, and passed after some discussion. And I would introduce the resolution to approve the purchase of this 2016 Bobcat Tool Cat from Farm Right Equipment in that amount of $46,551.10.
Second.
Resolution has been introduced and seconded. Discussion. Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a new piece of equipment. It's not replacing anything. And you've maybe seen some Bobcat Tool Cats around. I wish we had a picture of it up there. It looks like a miniature skid loader truck with a blade on the front or a snow blower, and be very useful around the city.
Roll call.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Meske.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution passes. Councilmember Christensen.
Item number 8 is also a resolution. It's Public Works requesting to purchase an F-150 pickup truck. They want to purchase and replace one of the Public Works F-150 pickups presently in use from Nelson Auto Center in the amount of $29,924.15 in accordance with our vehicle and equipment replacement policy. The current unit is 2006 and would be transferred to the fire department so they could use it for various tasks such as hydrant painting. Again, after some discussion, a motion was made, seconded to approve this, and I will introduce the resolution to approve the purchase of that 2016 Ford F-150 from Nelson Auto Center Fleet Department in the amount of $29,924.15.
Second.
Resolution has been introduced and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Meske.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Item number 9 is also a resolution. We're buying equipment tonight. They brought forth to us a purchase for the Public Works, for them to purchase a Ford F-350 pickup, which is a 1-ton, and a dump body from Nelson Auto Center and Towmaster Incorporated. The total of this truck and Towmaster would be $42,536.72. The current unit is 2004. It's got engine and suspension concerns and will be sold at our city auction in May. The capital outlay program has included $49,000 for this purchase of the pickup and the dump body. Again, after some discussion, a motion is made and seconded for the following, and I will introduce the resolution to approve that purchase and replacement of the Public Works F-350 and dump body from Nelson Auto Center and Towmaster in the amount of $42,536.72.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor of the resolution? Resolution, roll call. I was trying to move this around.
Councilmember Meske.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Councilmember Christensen.
Item number 10, we also need some new GPS equipment for Public Works, Public Safety. So staff brought to us for approval to purchase and replacement of engineering GPS survey equipment from Frontier Precision in the amount of $47,101.75. Our current equipment is 10 years old and no replacement parts are being manufactured any longer because it's so obsolete. This day and age with technology, 10 years old is quite old. Staff is requesting to replace it with a GPS Rover, robotic total station and tablet controller, with quotes solicited from Frontier and Licia. The equipment from Frontier is considerably more accurate than the current unit and offers an enhanced customer support above what is offered by the other company. Current equipment would be traded in for $6,500 and is reflected in the purchase price. The committee discussed if the equipment was being made in the United States. We didn't know. After some discussion, a motion was made and seconded for the following, and I will introduce the resolution to approve this purchase and replacement of the engineering GPS survey equipment from Frontier Precision in the amount of $47,101.75.
Second.
Resolution has been introduced and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Temeski.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
The resolution passes. Councilmember Christensen.
Down to information. Item number 11. Staff discussed the opportunity of Meeker County and the city of Litchfield potentially merging with CCT, our bus service. The committee discussed the reduced oil prices reflecting possible lower project costs this year and the potential to maybe save to complete additional projects with the cost savings. However, staff noted there are no bids to evaluate at this time, so it is too early to determine how those oil prices will affect and may affect the bid prices. Additionally, oil prices only contributed to a portion of the total construction cost. It was noted that the design and preparation of plans and specs, along with a short construction season, hinder the addition of projects after initial bids are received by the city. The option of adding more seal coating and crack sealing was offered as an option. The committee discussed the Southwest Regional Transportation Meeting and the funding resources, sources and needs from the county and other communities. Our committee also discussed sidewalk maintenance issues and crack sealing. It is noted the city no longer owns a crack sealing machine and solicits quotes each year for that service. There being no further business to come before the committee, I would move to file the minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to file the minutes. Discussion. Councilmember Fagerly.
Just on the transit item, that should happen by July or August, so it'll be Rendell County, Kansas County, and Meeker.
Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are they being forced to do it like kind of we were? We had to merge or not receive state funds?
Pretty much.
It's the same thing.
They had the option to look at McLeod or Wright, and they decided to go with us for the time being, so.
So we'll rename it again?
Nope, it's not the same.
Thank you.
Additional discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. All those opposed? Motion passes. Gets long when we've seen this so many times over and over again, so. Most of these we've seen, I'll get off my soapbox, but someplace between 7 and 9 times we've seen these items by the time we vote on them, so. So it does get a little labor intensive. Next, we have Community Development Committee reports from February 11th. Councilmember Fagerly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We met at 4:45. Item 1 or 2 was public comments. There was no one to speak to us. Item 3 was the Y project update. Paul Rasmussen, MnDOT District 8 Y project manager, presented concept drawings of the proposed Railroad Y project. I don't know if you want to see, if you have...
Do you have that technology available? No?
No.
Okay.
Guess we won't then. 2 options for Highway 12 were viewed and discussed. Both options require significant changes to County Road 55. The rail route remains the same under both options. As of now, proposed changes at the south end of the route relative to county roads are not part of the project. It was noted that BNSF has purchased some property. Land acquisition is on hold pending a final route decision for Highway 12. Public meeting is scheduled for February 25th, that's Thursday, to review the project options. It will be located at the Kansas County Health and Human Services Building in the multi-purpose room in the lower level from 5 PM to 7 PM, and everyone is welcome. So if you have questions, go there. That was for information only. Item 4, the sex offender housing update. The committee discussed next steps to address the issues of regulating sex offender housing. The city attorney had offered several options to regulate such housing using zoning restrictions. Following discussion, it was the consensus of the committee that the city continue to pursue regulation of housing for sex offenders. Staff will work with the city attorney to put together information and prepare draft documents. Item 5, proposal to gift land to the city. Staff presented a proposal by Mark and Bonnie Nelson to gift a small piece of land to the city of Wilmer. The piece of land is a remnant piece from when Highway 12 bypass was constructed years ago. The land abuts property already owned by the city of Wilmer. Because of the size and location of the parcel in question, the city had actually been maintaining it since the city acquired the adjacent property. The parcel measures less than a couple hundred square feet. And it's located right across from the car care clinic and Ide's Refrigeration just to the east of that. There was a house there that we took, I don't know, 5 years ago because it needed to be demolished. And that little piece got missed. So following discussion, a motion was made and seconded to refer the matter to the Planning Commission to review as required by the Wilmer City Charter. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to forward the matter to the Planning Commission on the donation of property to the city. Discussion. Seeing and hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The motion does carry. Councilmember Fagerly.
And that was the end of the meeting, so if there's no questions, I move to file the minutes.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to file the minutes. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The motion does carry. Announcement of committee meeting dates. Finance, Councilmember Anderson.
Mr. Mayor, the Finance Committee will meet Monday, the 22nd at 4:45.
Councilmember Christensen, Public Works Safety.
Tuesday, the 23rd, 4:45, City Hall.
Labor, Councilmember Anderson.
Labor will meet the 24th. That'll be a full council. We'll be meeting at 4:45 at City Hall.
Okay, Community Development, Councilmember Fagerly.
No meeting.
Okay. Also, just a reminder, Vision 2040 will be having their community meeting on February 28th. That meeting will run from 6 to 8 p.m. It'll be out at the Conference Center. I encourage everybody to attend there. And also, we have our city attorney saying, slow down. Mr. Scott.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, before you take a motion to adjourn, I just wanted to clarify a vote from the consent agenda tonight. The vote was, the majority of the council voted to approve the consent items, which was sufficient for everything on your consent agenda except for 3 of the appointments. The appointments to charter-established boards, including the Planning Commission and the Zoning Appeals Board, require the approval of 5 council members to ratify the mayor's appointment. So those did not receive 5 votes of the council tonight, so those have not yet become effective.
Okay.
Everything else on the consent agenda did pass.
Okay. Councilmember Nelson.
Would you just repeat those again, which boards they were?
There are 2 boards that are involved because they are charter established, the Planning Commission and the Zoning Appeals Board. So appointments to those 2 boards, and there were 3 total appointments, did not receive the 5 votes of council members tonight.
So that would be the appointment of Rebecca Trongard, Tom Butterfield, and Julie Osmus. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so those are not approved. Anything else for the good of the order?
I have one.
Council.
Yeah, on February 8th, the Wilmer Police Department responded and to a gentleman who had collapsed in his driveway while shoveling snow, and he had passed away. The officers, Officer Helgeson and Vasquez, stayed behind after that person was taken to the hospital and who subsequently passed away, and they shoveled and finished his driveway. That did get some well-deserved publicity in this community, and it made it on social media and our paper, and I wanted to applaud the Wilmer Police Department for that effort. I appreciate that very much. I have a personal stake. That was my neighbor as well, and it was tragic for our cul-de-sac and all of our neighbors, and he will be dearly missed, but I appreciate very much. There's not enough credit given to our police department for good things, and so thank you very much.
I know that was also picked up by the Twin Cities media. I followed that a bit, so good job to your officers there, Chief Felk, so good job. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded, we're adjourned.